you could get as much secure as you can, but like, there's always risk involved. There's no such thing as 100% cybersecurity, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you drive?
Yeah.
Okay, you drive. Now, you and I both know people get in accidents all the time, but we still wake up the next day, start the car, and get out the door, right?
Yes.
And there's risks involved, but we do what we can to mitigate that risk. We get that seatbelt on, right? We make sure our vision is good. We wear our glasses if we need to.
Yeah.
We fix our mirrors. We make sure the seat is fixed, that way we're comfortable, we're aware, we can see the rear view mirrors, right? You also make sure that you buy insurance to mitigate the likelihood that if you get into an accident, you don't have to foot that big bill of an accident.
Yeah.
Right? All these activities that we're doing to mitigate the risk so we can continue to drive, that's exactly, literally cybersecurity metaphorically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Have you enjoyed listening to the Incredible Paul podcast? Are you looking for a way to support it? Or maybe you just want some swag? Check out the Incredible Paul store today. We have shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, hats, stickers, and so much more. Go to incredipaul.org, INCREDI Paul.org, and click on the store link. Or go to the link in my socials bio and click on the Incredible Paul shop. Looking forward to seeing your Incredible Paul look.
Turn this up! Turn this up!
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality. Welcome to the Incredipaul Podcast. And now, sharing his expertise, experience, and excellence with the world, here's your host, Paul Faranbi.
Hi, I'm Paul Faranbi, and welcome to the Incredipaul Podcast, where we learn how to become the most incredible versions of ourselves by learning from each other. Today, I have Abdie Mohamed on the podcast. He is an enthusiastic tech professional, public speaker, and blog writer. That is amazing. But Abdie, how about you introduce yourself the way you would do it?
Hey, what's up, folks? My name is Abdie Mohamed. I'm a cloud/cybersecurity engineer at a Fortune 500 company. I'm also a public speaker, and most importantly, I love helping others. I recently got into the field of cybersecurity about not recently, but like 5 years ago. And, it's been quite the journey and, quite a lot of learning, and would love to, share my journey into this space and give any tips that might be of value to you.
Awesome. So recently, it seems like it's flown by. It's already been 5 years.
Yeah.
So did you always know you wanted to go into cybersecurity, or let's dive in? How did this even happen?
Yeah. So what's funny is, in undergrad, as you just said, 5 years flows by really fast, right? But in undergrad, you're trying to figure things out. You're like 17, 18 years old. You're a kid, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to now you have to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life, right? That's a lot of pressure and not the easiest decision. So to answer your question, the short answer is no. I didn't. I did not see myself getting into the cybersecurity space.
Yeah.
However, I saw myself getting into economics. So I wanted to become an economist.
Wow.
Yeah, most people don't know that. I wanted to become an economist.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so originally I had my major as economics.
Okay.
And I was fascinated about, the way markets work, the way the Federal Reserve works, micro and macro economic conditions. Yeah. How does the world work? How does trade work? Right? How do we maximize limited resources to get the best bang for your buck? What is supply and demand? Yeah. I was so fascinated by those topics. I wanted to become an economist. So I got my associate's degree in economics.
Oh, wow.
Then, it was like, I remember when I got that associate degree, I was so happy, man. I was like, let's go. First degree down, one more to go, right? So I went to San Diego State University. I transferred upon getting my associate's degree. I went to Grossmont Community College, transferred to San Diego State. And as I arrived to San Diego State, I had an epiphany. Had a blank moment. You can fill in the rest. And I realized if I really wanted to become an economist and I really wanted to make a decent amount of money as an economist, I'd have to get my PhD. And for me personally, I'm not saying I hated school. I was just good.
Yeah.
I had enough.
Yeah.
When I get my bachelor's, I want to start making money and be out of it. I don't want to go back to academia again. Hate is a strong word. I didn't hate it. It's just
Not your favorite thing.
not my favorite. You know, if we had a list of things to do, academia is not one of them.
Yeah.
I love learning, right? You and I both know learning is a big deal. We got to continue learning, right? For our well-being. So it's very important. But no, I was so hit hard and shocked about it when I found out that if I really wanted to make money, you know, I'd have to go all the way, you know, to become an economist. So when that decision happened, you know, I realized when that event happened, I had to make a tough decision. And it's one of those, you know, coming of age moments, right? You know, growing up, you have to make, as a child, you make tough decisions, but as an adult, you make much more tough decisions at scale. And I realized, okay, so I don't want to become an economist anymore, but I like economics. What classes do I already have? You know, I was always interested in business, and tech seems to be growing. You know, I compared what current credits and classes that I had. I compared it to this major called business administration with a focus on management information systems. So management information systems is focused on studying how to use IT to solve business problems, how to use an information system and use that information from the technology to solve a business problem, whether it's saving money, whether it's increasing customer satisfaction, whatever, right? There's plenty of information systems out there. But the idea of that major is to study technology to solve business problems. So I changed my major to that specifically. And the cool part about it was that I was only missing 1 or 2 classes.
Wow.
Right. So I took those 1 or 2 classes, changed my major. And, you know, by the grace of God, you know, I finished up with a bachelor's degree in management information systems.
Awesome.
Now, right before, about 8 months before finishing my degree in management information systems in 2019, so this is like fall 2018, I realized, okay, I do want to work in tech, but tech is so broad.
Yeah.
It's like,
are you a STEM student? Do you have questions about life after undergrad? Are you not sure what professional development really means? Or maybe you just want to meet some incredible people and ask questions to someone who's been in your shoes before. The Incredipaul student community is for college students who want some help navigating through college, finding their way into grad school, a career, or even starting a business. We will meet once a month for an hour each time. You can reach out with questions at any time through a special group of people you know are serious about their growth as a student leading into a professional. Go to incredipaul.org/community to learn more about this. You can also go to my About page, incredipaul.org/about, to learn more about me. Join me in becoming the most incredible student you can be. Yeah.
it's like a sea of different roles that you can do, right? And it gets even crazier that cybersecurity as a career path is also pretty broad. So I didn't know what I was doing, right? However, I was fortunate to be in an internship, you know, where I was learning cybersecurity skills, and I was learning the appropriate skill sets that perfectly translated into cybersecurity role. So after talking with a bunch of mentors in NSBE, shout out to National Society of Black Engineers, right? 6 House, Paul, where you at? Where you at?
5 deep.
5 deep. All right, I'm gonna pay the respect. It's not my show. It's not my platform.
It's
I'm
all
just
right.
gonna say 6 House. You know, it's 5 deep. That's what it
House
is.
is 5 deep house. So
All right. We're gonna pay homage. We're gonna pay homage. So you know, so I talked to a bunch of, you know, older gentlemen who happen to be doing cybersecurity in NSBE, who graduated, and talking to the mentors, and they said, hey, you know, if you're looking for a path in the tech space, you really want to consider the cybersecurity path. Why? Because cybersecurity is an industry that's not going anywhere, number one. And number two, the growth it's going to continue to grow. It's only become more important as businesses continue to adopt technology. There's cybersecurity risk involved. And so long as there's cybersecurity risk involved, cybersecurity professionals will always have roles, will always be in business for that reason. So eventually I came to the conclusion I want to do a cybersecurity role. I went to I think that's when we first met at the 2019 NSBE 40. Was it 45 or 46?
It might have been 45.
NSBE 45 in Detroit, Michigan.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, in Detroit, Michigan. NSBE 45. That's where, you know, I think we met inside Brian Thomas's workshop. Yeah. You know, and shout out to Brian Thomas. We had that workshop and we met briefly. We had a brief conversation, and you know, at NSBE 45, that's where I met I got an opportunity to interview with so many companies.
Mm.
And, you know, I was fortunate and blessed to have that opportunity.
Mhm.
And from there, I got a job offer from the current company that I work for. And they were the only company that was offering a cybersecurity role, but it was in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And I was living in California at the time. So I had to make another big boy decision. Jump from
All
one
the
coast,
way.
from California, all the way to Florida to start my career.
Wow.
I said, yes, I did do it. It was
Yeah.
tough, but I did do it. I did do it.
Yeah, that's tough.
So yeah, that's pretty much how I got my start in cybersecurity. You know, I went the academia route, and you know, here we are. I'm in Atlanta now. So
Yeah. So making all these moves, that's phenomenal. And I think that's something I always talk to students or even people at the beginning of the careers about, is that most people don't know what they're going to do for the rest of their career, whether you just get into college or when you even start career. I even tell people, I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. It's like I there's things that you learn and do along the way. And I think it's awesome that you were able to do that with the economics. Like the only thing I know about economics, I took like an econ 101 and 102 class, like macro, micro, and macro. So I don't know a lot of it. I know like supply and demand and like the markets. That's about it. Don't ask me anything else. But that you were able to follow your passion and then seek out that mentorship from people in Nesby, and also having that internship experience. That's amazing.
yeah, internship experience was very valuable. I got the right mentors, you know, and you realize as you continue to grow in whatever field that you're in, whether you're in cybersecurity, you know, aerospace engineering, or any STEM discipline or any discipline,
Yeah.
right? You realize there's no such thing as just a successful individual. There are people that have contributed to our growth, right? Like, you know how you're always told, hey, you're self-made. Well, not really. Some, you know, there are people that helped us out along the way.
Yeah.
You know, you had help along the way. I had plenty of help along the way, right? I'll never say I'm self-made, because people are always helping you, right? And that's the story of any person who's off to a very successful career or greatness in general in life. Is that there are people around them that contributed to their growth and where they are today.
Yes, that's a common theme. Yeah, I don't really like the term self-made either.
Oh yeah, it's so like, it's okay, and you're self-made, cool.
Yeah.
Who'd you help?
Yeah, it comes from a place of pride almost, I think.
Oh,
and
yes.
It's like we're all in this community together, whether it's like directly influencing people or indirectly influencing people. And like, even if it's like just at the very basic, someone has to give you that job or give you that business or whatever. So it's not like you are making all this money out of nowhere. So it's like no one is truly self-made.
Nobody. Yeah. It's one of those things, I think, especially, you know, I think us younger folks, we get told a lot of people, especially on social media platforms, whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's Instagram or Twitter, you know, people, you know, self-made is so prevalent. And I think, you know, if you really want to go far in your STEM career, whether that's, you know, being a scientist, whether that's being a technologist or engineer or mathematician, it doesn't matter. You know, you want to understand that you cannot get there alone. Granted, there's a lot of upward front that you have to do for yourself that no one's going to do for you. That's for sure, right? But just understand, no matter how hard you work, you will need someone's help.
Yes, that's so true. So true. So talking about, like, I know you're in cybersecurity and you were in San Diego, going to San Diego State, graduated there, and then you had to make that decision to move to Florida to work at the company you are right now. So how did you make that decision? Like, what were some of the factors you talked about, or like what was that transition like as far as you can remember? Like and if you could share what company you're at right now.
Oh, for sure. So the company I'm at right now is Lockheed Martin.
Lockheed Martin, awesome.
Yeah, Lockheed Martin, great company, has been very phenomenal in my growth. And, you know, it's been very positive, and I've been very fortunate to work there.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, you know, man, take it back. Man, I'm about to start crying on the podcast, man. It was a tough decision. It was a tough decision.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was about 5 years ago. No, 4 years ago. 4 years ago when I started doing, so I had my 1 year internship in the cybersecurity space.
Okay.
And then my professional career started 4 years ago in 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a really tough decision. It was a really tough decision because, you know, I come from a really big family, right? I lose count every time. I have 8 siblings.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Where are you in? Like, you're near the top, the middle, or where
yeah,
are you?
yeah. So I'm the second oldest,
Second
but I'm the oldest boy.
Oh,
And
wow.
I have an older sister
Oh, wow.
who's happily married, having a very successful career in nursing. If she's
Nice.
watching this, I hope you enjoy this
Yeah, give her a
podcast.
shout out.
Shout out to my sister Uma. She's amazing. She's lovely.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, it's you know, no one in my family, or even across my cousins, you know. Well, actually, I had one cousin who left, who moved for work once. But in my immediate family, though, I was the first person to say, you know what? Hey, I'm leaving the city to go pursue, bigger and better things, that is conducive for myself and
Yeah.
everybody in the family, right?
Wow.
And it was really tough because my dad was very supportive of it. My dad immediately knew, like, hey, this young man, he's on a positive path. For him, it's not that he wasn't concerned or worried. It was more of, hey, this young man is doing what he needs to do to better himself, and I couldn't be more happier and prouder of him. So
Yeah.
convincing dad, to pull the trigger on that move, not a problem. We had some Middle
Okay.
Eastern food. We had some chicken kebabs and shawarmas. We were good.
Nice.
He was like, "Oh,
There
son,
you
I
go.
support you 1,000%. We're good, right?"
Yeah.
And my mom was a little bit more difficult to convince. For me personally, I was going to make the decision to move regardless, but it's one of those things where you'd rather have their blessing.
Yes.
Right. In a perfect world, what's the perfect scenario?
Yeah.
You get their blessing, right? So, and help them understand and make it very clear to them, your parents, that, hey, this is nothing. This isn't a shot at you like, hey, I hate you, I'm leaving. It's more of, hey, thank you for teaching me so much valuable skills. I can now go take on the world with all the values that you taught me. Right. And with my mom, she would, moms being mom,
Yes.
moms have a different level of concern
Yes.
and fear and healthy, because that's your mom, right? And God bless our mothers, and she was just concerned about my safety. I've had family members who've moved before, and when they moved, they didn't make the best decisions when they moved because
okay.
And when you don't make the best decisions, you start to burden your family a bit, right?
Yeah.
And we've heard of stories of people who move who do really well. We've heard of stories of people who move do not so well. Who come back worse off than they move, right? And I had to explain to my mom, like, hey, mom, like, I have a good head on my shoulders. You taught me enough. I got all the tools, all the skills necessary to take care of myself and not make any decisions that could be catastrophic for myself and for you as well. So it took a couple weeks, and then I had to bring one of my mentors over to my house.
Wow.
Yeah, we had to get the we had Somali rice. It's kind of like jollof rice. It's like seasoned rice.
Okay.
Shout out to my Nigerian people. It's like
There we go.
it's like jollof rice. We had some rice, some
Yeah.
goat meat, some chicken.
Yeah.
We had a fruit bowl, fruit salad.
Yeah.
And my mentor, was enjoying the food and just having great conversation with my mom and dad, explaining to them, hey, he's off to a good path. Letting him go out there, it's going to be good for him because whenever he comes and visits, you'll see the growth in him, and he'll be good enough, to take care of himself and his family down the line. So he helped with that. Shout out to my mentor. His name is Dr. Hodge. He was very kind enough to come over to my house, break bread with my family, and really give my mom. My dad was already cool, right?
Yeah.
But it was really like closing the deal on mom. Let's make sure mom understands
Yes.
that I'm not leaving to go start scamming or doing any illegal activity.
Yeah.
This is legit, mom. This is legit.
Yeah.
This is good money. This is legitimate money, right? So, yeah, that was that. And making that decision. For those of you watching, when it comes to making a decision like this, understand there are going to be family members that are going to be completely concerned for you, right? I don't encourage you to be resentful towards them. It's coming from a very loving place. If you understand it's coming from a loving place, you won't let that slow you down, deter you from whatever path that you're pursuing. I had family members tell me that they were very concerned and worried, given their past experience with other family members who left and not making the best decisions. And I've had friends say, hey, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? Why would you leave all the way to Florida? You have everything here, and I think as a young individual, as an adult, you have to make decisions that when you look back, that you're going to be like, hey, you're going to say to yourself, hey, I'm proud of myself for making that decision. Right? It's not, I didn't know that many people who moved from San Diego to start a career elsewhere, whether it be a couple hours away in Los Angeles or,
Wow.
you know, all the way to Florida or New York, right? I've never met anybody who personally known, like anyone in my immediate circle who's made that move. Well, let me not lie, except one individual. His name was Kevin.
Okay.
And he moved from San Diego to Boise. And he also, you know, was explaining to me, hey, you know, moving is not a big, easy decision, but, you know, it's something that eventually you have to make tough decisions as you get older.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes you have to understand that there's always a cost benefit analysis going on, and the benefits always outweigh the costs.
Yes.
At times.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's a really cool story. And all those people you gave shout out to Kevin and your mentor, Dr. Hodge, that him talk to your mom about that. No, I share your thoughts about moms and their concern. And it's really, like you said, it's coming from a place of love and care. They want to make sure you're good. And especially because I know you mentioned that you're also the first boy. So that probably made it much harder for her. So I'm the oldest in my family.
Oh man, you're not going nowhere, Paul. You're staying home.
I know. Well, that was the thing. So I actually left. So when I went to school in Iowa, which only was like 2.5 hours from when my family they're still in Nebraska. But when I left to go to my career, I went to New Mexico, in Albuquerque. So it was pretty far away, more like an end destination. So not too far from you in San Diego, but not close either.
Right.
So that was a tough decision. And I had to talk to my mom about that just to make sure that she was concerned, that she was at peace with it. Like my dad was like, you're an engineer, go to where the job is, what you want to do. So he understood that. But I think that's really cool. And I think it's also good that you actually took your family's concerns and you tried to appease them and made sure that they were okay and not worrying about you. Because I think there's two ways to go about this. Sometimes people don't make the decision because they're afraid of family.
Yes.
Other times people will just ignore their family and be like, I'm just gonna do what's best for me. I'm gonna do me. And
forget them. They don't know what they're talking about.
That.
Forget them.
I know you're just cutting ties at that point. I mean, they're still your family, but it makes things a lot harder to deal with when you do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, also we also have to be aware that if I lose everything today, right? If I lost all the money that I saved up, or my 401k got, you know, proofed, I didn't have nothing, I was homeless, my family would take me in. Right? So these are people who unconditionally would look out for me.
Yeah.
If it came down to it.
Yeah.
So those are certain relationships you want to continue to water them, right? And make sure that, hey, even if we're upset with one another, hey, I still got you.
Yeah.
Still got you.
Exactly. So kind of talk me through, I think what we were talking a little bit before this about, like you're in like a leadership development program.
Yes.
And Lockheed. So kind of talk through that as far as like what you were doing in Florida, how you got into Atlanta, like what the program does and what you learned from it so far.
Oh, for sure. So leadership development programs, the easiest way to describe it, in my opinion, is the ability to job hop within a company and also have them invest a lot of money into you via trainings and certifications. And depending on the company, some companies, they pay for your degree. So for me, you know, the leadership development program, I was early in my career and I was thinking, I said, hey, you know, what's the fastest way to accelerate my career growth? You know, get the mentorship from the right people within the company and, you know, be known within the company. Listen, right? You go from, you know, living in San Diego where you're that guy, right? And it's like, all right, now I'm in a company with so many people. How do I distinguish myself amongst all these people? But more importantly, how do I get myself in the right spaces where I can learn the most and contribute the most?
Are you wondering what's next? Has everything you tried failed? Or maybe you just feel stuck? Then coaching might be right for you. The coaching relationship is a relationship totally centered on you. If you're tired of running on the hamster wheel of life and want to start to see results, reach out to Incredipaul for help. So what are you waiting for? Go to incredipaul.org/coaching, INCREDIPAUL.org/coaching, or at I am Incredipaul on all my socials. Or you can click the link in the bio for your free coaching session. I want to make sure you become the most incredible version of yourself.
Right. And for me, getting into the leadership development program made sense, because when you're in a leadership development program, a company is investing a lot more money into you, in comparison to individuals who are not in leadership development programs. These are also called rotation programs at other companies. So when your early career, it's really cool to switch jobs. Now, you can switch jobs by jumping from company to company. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with that, right? But obviously, whenever you make moves like that, you're gonna be very strategic and intentional about, what you're doing, because you have to keep in mind that your skills stack on top of each other. So you have to make sure every role that you take, new skills stack on top of each other, and they create, a better version of you in terms of your skill sets. So, I applied for the leadership development program. And as you are aware, Paul, that sometimes when it comes to leadership development programs, they can be really competitive.
Yeah.
And you have to apply into the leadership development program. It's like applying for another job.
Yeah.
You gotta touch up the resume.
Yeah.
You gotta, get the teeth whitened for the interview. You gotta get the hair cut. I ain't got much hair. But as you can tell, get the suit nice. And sit down and have a conversation as to why ultimately the company that you're working for should invest that capital into you to be in that leadership development program. So when it comes to leadership development programs, depending on the company, you'd more than likely have to apply and compete for that leadership development program, right? And you have to understand that when you're applying, that you have to create a strong value proposition as to why that company should invest in you. And some rotation programs / leadership development programs are 2 years, right? Some are 3 years, some are 4 years. It just really depends where you go, right? And each rotation within your leadership development program, each job that you take, you're learning new skills, right? And on top of that, you're getting additional leadership development curriculum that you have to take. So classes, trainings, seminars, conferences that you have to go to. That is mandated for you to complete your leadership development program, right? If you don't attend these things or do these things specified in that leadership development program, you won't be able to graduate from that program, right? So my first role was in Florida. So I stayed in Florida. So I worked in Florida for 1 year. And then in 2020, I stayed for my So I started my role in 2019, my first job as a professional in 2019, summer 2019. And it wasn't until spring 2021. So January, winter, sorry, I got the seasons messed up. Winter, January 2021. That's when I started my first rotation at the leadership development program. I stayed with my current team at that time, but I had a completely different role. Felt like I was thrown in the fire, but it was good. It was good.
Wow.
It was good. It was good. I had to start leading. I was responsible for a big project, and I was responsible for making sure that we had the appropriate amount of individuals within our team allocated to that project. And I had to communicate with other stakeholders throughout the company, other teams. And I didn't have to do that much in my previous role. But in that new role, I was a project manager, still doing cybersecurity work, but I was doing project management, negotiating with other teams. Like, hey, we might not get the product to you in this time, but we can get it to you in that time. Can we work here? What can we do here? Right. So I had to learn so many new skills in my first rotation. And then last year I did another rotation where, I was focused on working on programs, a classified program. And obviously I won't dive too deep into it, but I learned a lot of new skills about working with others. As a cybersecurity professional, you have to work with software engineers. Sometimes you have to work with systems engineers. Sometimes you have to work with HR. Sometimes you have to work with other stakeholders throughout the company. And last year, I learned a lot more, like even more about the importance of working with others, paying attention to detail. And this year now, my focus, I'm still doing cybersecurity work, but my focus is on cloud technology. So think cloud like GCP, Oracle, AWS, Azure, that sort of thing. And my focus now is helping other engineers build web applications that our customers are using. And as I'm helping them build those web applications, I have to keep in mind the security risks involved as we continue to build this thing and deliver it to our end users / customers.
Wow.
So yeah, lots of conferences. I'm actually about to go to one conference 2 weeks from now in DC for my leadership development program. This one's going to be focused on leadership development, and we're getting like hands-on training from like senior managers, directors, VPs, seminars. It's going to be fun. Probably not going to sleep because after conferences, I like to go networking. Networking, right? I like to go have a good time, explore the city, eat some nice food, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, no, that's super exciting. It sounds like Lockheed does a really good job with their leadership development program. And just so I'm clear, and the people on the podcast are clear, and well, one quick plug for those of you watching, thanks for watching, thanks for being on YouTube. For those of you who are listening, go on YouTube, go to Incredible Paul YouTube, watch the podcast. Abdie's got this amazing blazer on. He's got the pocket square. You're missing out right now. You're missing out. I mean, I just got an Incredible Paul t-shirt on, but that's what I always have on. But definitely go to YouTube. But I would say, just so I'm clear on it, is it that you were already a part of Lockheed and then you applied to the business leadership? Okay, that's how they do it. Okay.
Yeah, you have to at least work at least a year. Okay. They don't want to like throw money at somebody, invest so much resources to find out that they left it within 9 months, right?
Yeah.
So, and I get it. I mean, I also understand the employee's perspective, right? Like, hey, there's a unique opportunity. Certain opportunities don't come that often. So, I get it. So no judgment there, right? But for the requirement at Lockheed Martin is at least 1 year.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I know for myself, it wasn't specifically like leadership development program. It was a rotational program.
Okay, gotcha.
With General Mills, but theirs was different. You go into that right away, and it's a 2-year program. Okay. And kind of like you mentioned, but you really just stay at one location, but rotate to a lot of different roles. So I got to do process engineering. I did maintenance engineering. I did reliability, and also did team leading, all within a couple of years. And then so with the rotational program, and also with me going to different jobs, so I've seen both sides of things. So working with Purina for 4 years, and then most recently now I'm with Henkel, which is not in food. So I had like 6+ years of food experience, and now I'm making laundry detergent. But that one was more strategic for me, just to make sure that make sure I could stay in St. Louis. It was a promotion for a manager role, and I didn't have to travel as much because my previous role was Paul. Traveling all the time. So,
I remember when we met in 2019, you were telling me about how often you were traveling for work too.
Yes,
and that's part of the rotation, right?
Yeah. Well, that was with Purina, so it wasn't the rotation. It was just that role was just. It was like 75% travel, which was fun. I honestly could still do it now, but it's just like being recently married, being at home more is just more important for me right now. I might get back to it at some point, but especially in the first year of marriage, make sure it's a good foundation. So
love it.
Yeah,
love it.
For sure. That's super cool. So I know you talked about the cybersecurity and now the cloud engineering. Is there anything that either you gravitate more to, you find more interesting? I know they kind of go hand in hand. I didn't know if there's any.
Right.
Yeah.
So with cybersecurity careers, there are different paths that you can go. It's really broad. My focus for a while was focused on governance, risk, and compliance. So governance, risk, and compliance is a strategy, right? It's focused on aligning IT with business goals while managing risk and making sure that your business is being compliant with the law. And my cybersecurity role is making sure that any products that we were creating at Lockheed Martin, they met minimal security requirements specified by the government. And if we can meet those minimal security requirements, that means we can continue to operate our business. If we don't meet those minimal security requirements, that means we won't be able to sell those products, which means the money goes down, the stock goes down, all that, right? So it was very, very valuable work. I really enjoyed that. Now I'm starting to look into cloud a bit more, mainly because, I would say a lot of people don't understand that you don't have to follow a strict, rigid path in your career. You can make your own career ladder,
Yeah.
right? You can make your own career ladder, right?
Mhm.
You can just keep building the skills compound and whatever gravitates your interest, what your values align more with, what you're very interested in. You could change that, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's not getting into cloud. It wasn't a big pivot. For me, it was more as a cybersecurity practitioner, understanding what is the burden that developers have when it comes to developing,
Mhm.
right? Because I used to work with developers, but my development background was lacking. And I
Yeah.
realized, hey, there's a knowledge gap there.
Yeah.
And whenever I asked them to mitigate a vulnerability or mitigate an audit finding,
Mhm.
I've noticed, sometimes I'd get pushback and I'd just say, hey, no, it is what it is. You have to fix it. Please go fix it.
Mm.
And that's not the best way to go about it. The
Mm.
best way to go about having conversations with developers as a cybersecurity practitioner is making it very clear that, hey, you understand, okay, I trust your judgment. You've developed this application.
Mhm.
I trust your judgment. I understand where you're coming from,
Mhm.
and you got to speak their language too,
Yeah.
right? Because their big priority is getting that application, that product out the door.
Yeah.
Your priority as a cybersecurity practitioner is, hey, let's mitigate as much risk as possible. Let's take it to an acceptable level. That way we get the best finished product.
Yeah.
We're not completely against each other, but
Yeah.
as you can see, when you have one team's director saying, hey, why isn't this out there? And you have another team's director saying, hey, how'd y'all let this product get out there with all this risk, all these vulnerabilities, right? So the key is, as a cybersecurity practitioner, is to make sure that you're collaborating with the development teams. Understand we're on the same team here. We
Yeah.
want the same thing. We want to get this product out the door. We want to make that money.
Yes.
That's what we want to do, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, my career is evolving a bit.
Mhm.
I got into the cloud to really understand the developers a bit more.
Mhm.
And also most companies nowadays, they're integrating cloud technology within their tech strategy.
Mm.
So down the line for me, I have every intention, of eventually going to director, executive level, and getting into the leadership type of things. But although I do like being an individual contributor too. It's something I
Yes.
go back and forth with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I can see
But
that.
I personally, for me, getting into the cloud right now, that's my main priority, understanding cloud
Okay.
technology,
Okay.
and also reviewing my fundamentals, such as Linux operating systems,
Okay.
understanding, cloud design, networking fundamentals, that sort of thing. So
Mhm.
I'm going to be in the cloud space for a while because mainly companies are going to continue to adopt cloud technology,
Yeah.
right? You have startups who start natively in the cloud, as in they have no hardware hosted on their premises. It's just that all their IT stack is on the cloud, right? You have companies who've been around for a long time who are integrating cloud with their current on-premises technology. Because
Wow.
for those who don't know, a lot of times, if you have a lot of sensitive information, like classified information, hosting that in the cloud may not be the best idea, right? Because there's a lot of risk involved with that.
Yeah.
That classified information hosted on some other company's web server, like an Amazon or a Microsoft or Google, that creates a lot of risk, and it could be problematic.
Yeah. I could only imagine the conversations that are happening, because then it's like it's the other company. If something happens, it's their fault. But if that information gets out, it hurts you, your company. So it's like, how do you balance that?
Exactly. And there is a way to have very sensitive information in the cloud. There's a secure way of doing it, but again, you could get as much secure as you can, but there's always risk involved. There's no such thing as 100% cybersecurity, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you drive?
Yeah.
Okay, you drive. Now, you and I both know people get in accidents all the time, but we still wake up the next day, start the car, and get out the door, right?
Yes.
And there's risks involved, but we do what we can to mitigate that risk. We get that seatbelt on, right? We make sure our vision is good. We wear our glasses if we need to.
Yeah.
We fix our mirrors. We make sure the seat is fixed, that way we're comfortable, we're aware, we can see the rear view mirrors, right? You also make sure that you buy insurance to mitigate the likelihood that if you get into an accident, you don't have to foot that big bill of an accident.
Yeah.
Right? All these activities that we're doing to mitigate the risk so we can continue to drive, that's exactly literally cybersecurity metaphorically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Cybersecurity is a bunch of, in a nutshell, a bunch of activities that you're engaging in to mitigate the likelihood that, you know, that an attacker exploits your business, exploits you, takes in your information. And, you know, you want to mitigate that likelihood of that happening. That way you can continue to operate your business.
Awesome. I love that description, because I when I hear cybersecurity, that's all I think about is just securing stuff on the internet. But that
Yes,
description, as far as mitigating the risk and understanding that there is always going to be some sort of risk, but you're
correct.
taking but you know, like with driving, you're trying to get somewhere, or the company, you're trying to make money, you're trying to do business.
Mhm.
So this is the way you're trying to do it. But so you're trying to reduce the risk as much as possible to a point that is tolerable.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like that.
that's what it is, right? And a lot of people sometimes when they think about cybersecurity, they think of a teenager, right, with a hoodie on, you know, smashing away at the keyboard in the corner of his mom's basement.
Yeah.
But that's not that. Yes, those are cybersecurity roles that exist, right?
Mhm.
Being a hacker for hire, right? It's called ethical hacking, where
Oh,
a
wow.
company hires you, to look at their you know, their infrastructure
Mhm.
and assess what weaknesses exist and attempt to exploit those weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's levels of types of penetration testing,
Yeah.
but you know, that's what they call white hat hackers.
Okay.
Right? They call those white hat hackers individuals who go out of their way to, you know, contract their services with companies, either through a company themselves or, you know, a sole proprietorship, whatever.
Okay.
You know, companies hire these individuals to see, hey, what would happen if a bad guy attempted to exploit these vulnerabilities, or
Okay.
you know, what weaknesses do we have that can be exploited by threat actors that exist out there. So
Okay.
there are a lot of different roles, but ultimately, you know, for the individuals listening today, I want you to understand that cybersecurity is not just a technical discipline; it's a business function, right? It's a business function. The same way that you have, you know, the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, you have the chief technology officer. You also have the chief security officer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And their jobs are to make sure that risk is taken to an acceptable level, right? Whether it's through people, whether it's through hiring the right people. When it
Yeah.
comes to, you know, people getting let go instead of them, you know, getting fired, you know, instead of them, you know, hacking systems because they have that access. Once someone is let go from the company, make sure that we have the proper offboarding processes, procedures to make sure their accounts are wiped. They don't have access, because if they do and they're disgruntled, right? Most people don't think of themselves as that, but you really don't know how you feel until that event happens. And sometimes people, they get paid back. Now, I'm not saying that's okay. I get the sentiment, but I'm not saying it's okay. I can get someone's frustration of being laid off, but it is wrong to get payback at a company that way, because
Yeah.
you're just not going to win. That's not a
Yeah.
game you're going to win, right? So part of the cybersecurity professional's job, you know, those are the type of roles that exist, that there's cybersecurity roles that exist, that their job is to make sure that, hey, what policies and procedures that we have that help address this risk, right? There are cybersecurity roles that are focused on hacking, right? Ethical hacking. There are cybersecurity roles focused on, you know, application security,
Okay.
right? There's the cybersecurity roles focused on cloud security. Okay, we're adopting cloud, we're adopting AWS. How do we make sure that we mitigate the likelihood an attacker can exploit our AWS accounts, right? There are so many different roles in the cybersecurity space. There's cybersecurity sales engineering, a sales engineer, you know, who's focused on making sure that the cybersecurity product that they're working with is the product for their end user / customer.
Yeah.
So plenty of cybersecurity roles, and it's a vast space, but it's a fun space. I do enjoy it.
That's phenomenal. And I have a it's funny in hindsight about what you were talking about with disgruntled employees. It was my first week starting with like I say, it was first week with General Mills. The third day, I guess someone got let go, and then everyone in the company got this email filled with explicatives calling out several different people, because somehow they still had access to their email, and they sent this email to I don't think it's everyone in the company, but everyone on that at that site.
Oh my.
And so this was day 3 for me, and so I was like, what is going on? Like, it's like just so bad. So in hindsight, it's funny, but like there's a lot of things that could have potentially gone wrong if they still have access to email, if I have access to other stuff. So
Yeah.
it just shows how critical what you talk about, the offboarding process is.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. We're human beings at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something's never changed, right?
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
a human
humans.
factor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a human factor, right? And and,
Yeah.
and the human factor is it's hard. It's hard as a cybersecurity practitioner. I mean, humans in any discipline, humans will always be the hardest risk to mitigate.
Yeah.
Humans are sometimes can be predictable, sometimes they can be unpredictable,
Yeah.
right? Amongst the threat actors that exist, possible threat actors, whether they be, a potential, terrorist from another country or a business that's trying to hack your system to get proprietary information and get that
Yeah.
strategy, that intellectual property, right?
Yeah.
You know, the hardest threat to mitigate, in my opinion, and I'm not the only individual that holds this opinion, a lot of professionals hold this opinion as well, is the insider threat, the people
Oh,
in our companies.
yeah.
Because you saw that individual, that disgruntled employee, he sent a
Yeah.
mass email out with plenty of expletives that I can't say right now. Otherwise, this podcast will get canceled, right? Right. And imagine how much worse it could have gone.
Mhm.
What if they had access to a certain database
Mhm.
that had, customer information,
Yeah.
right? Or they had, a database, or a file or a document that had a potential big contract that's going to
Yeah.
happen soon. But if it gets leaked, that contract is no longer happening.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Right. So that's the hardest threat to mitigate as a cybersecurity professional. Insider threat, in my opinion.
Yeah, that seems like it, because you would think you should be able to trust the people that work for you, but humans, like you said, are unpredictable.
Right. And again, I have a little empathy when someone gets randomly laid off, and they're just shook, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like there was no precedence. It just,
Yeah.
you woke up the next day, you drove to the office and you scanned your badge, you couldn't get in, right? It's a traumatizing experience. Thank God I haven't experienced that,
Yeah.
but it's a traumatizing experience.
Mhm.
So I can understand when someone has a family to take care of, how they can be extremely upset by that event.
Yes.
But trying to exploit the company, by hacking them or, sharing proprietary information,
Mhm.
it's not a battle you can win,
No,
right?
definitely not.
Because now you got the cops involved, you got legal involved, you got the
Oh,
lawsuits
yeah.
involved,
Yeah.
right? And if you know anything about America, is if you want the best lawyers, you got to pay up.
Yeah, you cannot afford the same lawyers that the company has. Not even close.
Not even close. They got a whole team ready at the go.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so true. But yeah, thanks for talking about all the cybersecurity stuff. I also want to talk a little bit about, I know you do keynote speak, you do speaking, and you also have a blog as well.
Yes.
Just talk more about what you talk about, whether it's speaking directly or through writing, because I know you do a lot of stuff in the STEM space.
Yeah, I appreciate the flowers, my brother. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. So officially I've become a public speaker. I've been going to Toastmasters for the past, 8 months, just to really refine my speaking
Awesome.
and, really get my speech to where it needs to get to. Sometimes we forget that speaking is a skill.
Yeah.
Engineering is a skill. Being a
Mhm.
technologist, a mathematician, a scientist, it's a skill.
Mhm.
And the skill only gets better when you get better and work at it.
Yes.
Right? You have to work at that skill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? The Incredible podcast, it becomes a better podcast because Paul is working on the podcast. He's working on his skills.
Thank
Right?
you. Yeah.
So, if anyone who wants to become a public speaker, I recommend you definitely check out Toastmasters.
Yes.
Get those reps in, get very comfortable talking to people,
Yes.
get very comfortable meeting people, get very comfortable learning about other people's stories, get comfortable sharing your story, right? Because that's the most unique gift that you have is your story, right? No one can copy that. It's my story.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of like our thumbprints, right?
Yes.
There's only one of you.
Yeah.
Only one of you. So yeah, I've been doing public speaking. I've done a couple official public speaking engagements this past year.
Awesome.
I had one talking about basic cybersecurity hygiene tips, and I had another one with the National Society of Black Engineers at San Diego State University, my alma mater.
Awesome.
Shout out to San Diego State, best
Nice.
university on the planet. You heard it from me. I said what I said. Yeah. So
That's all right. I'm interviewing you, so I'll let it slide for this time.
Oh man, we're trying to hijack the platform. But
Go for it.
so yeah, I went back to my alma mater and I had a great conversation presentation with the students there. And the main focus was about cybersecurity careers, So what is cybersecurity? What career paths exist? Potential income opportunities, and what are emerging trends within this field? Because if you work in tech, you have to be aware. I encourage you, do a little bit of research and understand what are the emerging trends? What technologies are companies adopting? What's going to be the next big thing, right? It's not like the stock market where it's almost impossible to predict what's going to happen. But tech is a little bit more predictable. In my opinion, it's a little bit more predictable because you can see, okay, companies are talking about artificial intelligence. There aren't that many individuals who are really good with machine learning and artificial intelligence. Maybe I should start learning machine learning and artificial intelligence, right? It's like one of those things. So, you know, definitely, you know, for me, it was really fun doing those speaking engagements with those students, having those conversations, and, you know, giving them, you know, the advice that could be extremely beneficial for them, whatever career path that they're looking for in terms of the tech space. But the blog writing, yes, I do write blogs / articles. I can't tell the difference. I'm a buffoon. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know, a blog is an article is a blog. You know, whoever, you know, an official blog writer is going to look at this and is probably going to grill me in my DMs on LinkedIn or Instagram. I promise. But yeah, I write blogs and articles. I do tech projects. You know, I've done cloud projects, and I talk about, you know, various concepts that newbies or new practitioners or seasoned practitioners should be aware of within their respective careers in the tech space. So I've talked about AWS. I talked about basic cybersecurity concepts. I've talked about cloud migration strategies. I talk about anything within my line of work that I feel that will be very beneficial. I talk about that in my blog. That way, an individual who happens to come across that who's looking for that right advice, well, look at that. You got an article that gives you the blueprint that you've been looking for.
Yes, that's good. That's really good. I really appreciate you doing that, because it's not everyone that's in the space that is willing to take the steps, like you mentioned with Toastmasters. Toastmasters, I've been involved in Toastmasters in the past. That's something I want to get more involved in again in the future, because with traveling, I just couldn't do it because I couldn't be a part of a consistent club. So thanks for the reminder. Yeah, Toastmasters is amazing. There are so many different clubs you can be a part of. A lot of times your company might have a club. I know
that is definitely
I know when I was with Purina, they had one that I was able to attend a few times. I was actually on site and not traveling. Or even if they don't have one, they will probably be able to pay for your membership just from like leadership development. Because communication is something that is critical in whatever you're doing. I know a lot of times we think about, okay, communication, you have to be the president or like the CEO or the C-suite executive. But if you're not able to effectively communicate your ideas, even if you're an individual contributor, you're not going to be effective. So communication is critical. So yeah, definitely go into Toastmasters and all the stuff you're doing. Like it's phenomenal. I see you all over LinkedIn and Instagram with the stories, with the reels, with the videos. It's so cool because I like I said, I'm in the manufacturing field, the food side, and now more on the chemical side of things. So the whole cybersecurity field and cloud engineering is fascinating to me. I know very little about tech, but watching your content has been very inspiring.
Oh, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. I'm happy to hear that the content is doing exactly what it's intended to do, to really just educate and help others. And thank you so much. I received those compliments on those flowers, brother. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Keep it up for sure. But we're almost out of time, but I want to make sure, is there anything that we haven't talked about or you want people to know about who Abdie is as a person?
One topic I do want to touch on as we head out here is, you know, the conversation about, oh, should I get a master's?
Oh, yeah.
That's a hot one, right? Everybody, there's so many different opinions on that. And I'd like to share mine.
Yeah.
You know, school is not getting cheaper. It's getting more expensive, you know, and you want to be very strategic on getting a master's degree. Blindly getting a master's degree because that's what other people are doing, I don't think that's the most effective, intelligent thing to do. What I do think is a very risk-informed, smart decision is, you know, using other people's money, aka through your company. If they have scholarships or they pay for master's degree, I think, I think that creates a case, or you have to create a case as to why you should get a master's. If your company is paying for the master's degree, that gives a good case.
Yes.
Right. If you know that, if you have an idea that, hey, whether you want to go leadership route or the engineering route, the individual contributor route, getting a master's degree can be beneficial at the right school.
Yeah.
But again, you have to be very intentional on, why you're getting the master's degree. And also you have to do homework on what is the company's policy on the master's degree, right? Do they require you to stay at least a year after upon completion, right? What's the limits? Is it $15,000 a year, right? Is it $20,000, $30,000 a year? Is it unlimited? What other conditions is it? Or do you have to be in a leadership development program to get that master's degree stipend or master's degree, benefit? You have to ask yourself these tough questions because you want to make a risk-informed decision. That way, upon completing your master's degree, you're like, you know what? Hey, I made the right decision because the pros outweigh the cons. It made the most sense for me, right? So my main thing is to those watching is don't go blindly getting a master's degree because it's a big investment. It's a lot of money. It's like buying a house.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's not getting cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very intentional, very strategic about it. A master's degree can be a value add to you. It can make you more competitive, but just be mindful, whether it's cybersecurity, cloud, or tech, or any, technical discipline, you have to be aware just because you have a master's degree does not guarantee you anything. Everything that we do in life is a probability game.
Yes.
The probability of them hiring you might be a little higher if you have a master's degree.
Yes.
Right. But if you're a terrible person, nobody's going to hire you. If your skills aren't the way they need to be, are you good at having a conversation? Right? Can I talk with you?
Yes.
Can I communicate with you? Can I sit down and have some tea with you? Right? Are you enjoyable and pleasant to be around?
Yeah.
If you're not, it doesn't matter what degrees you have. Nobody's going to hire you.
No.
Right? So nothing, and I want to leave it with this. No degree or certification will guarantee you anything. It's always a game of probabilities.
Yeah.
Your goal as the person who's trying to get work or was trying to start a business or entrepreneurship, you want to increase the likelihood that you get business.
Yes.
And getting a degree, getting a master's degree, PhD, those increase the likelihood. However, how much they increase the likelihood varies, right? It can give you plus 1 point, it can give you plus 10 points. However, you just have to be mindful that you're playing a game of probabilities, and you have to understand that you have to be the complete package, which includes being on LinkedIn, on social media, networking, building a personal brand, sharing advice, learning from others, communicating with the leaders within your industry, getting to know their stories, getting to know the new practitioners within, getting to know the mid-career people, right? Building a strong social media brand, doing projects, sharing your thoughts, blog writing, all those things contribute to a full package of an individual who makes themselves more competitive in the marketplace. So I'll leave it at that, Paul. Thank you so much, my brother.
Yeah, no, that's phenomenal. I love that you brought that up because I think that's a question a lot of people in STEM have as far as if they should go for the master's degree. And I'll add something else that you were saying is to do your research, because so that's one thing I learned, like in chemical engineering, like the starting salaries between if you went right out of bachelor's or master's of chemical engineering was actually slightly lower, if you can believe that, because they valued the experience you got while you're working. So it's not, I think you would make slightly more than if you were a bachelor's, but if you had worked those 2-3 years, you would make more than if you just went to get your master's, if you're going into industry.
Well, that is wow. See, this is stuff we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And so I had a class in college that they talked about those things. So it's like they said basically your chemical engineering, either go stick with your bachelor's or you can work a little and get it later and work with your company, or just go straight for the PhD. But the master's chemical engineering is like, it's kind of like a middle ground. It's like you're not quite the PhD and you don't have the industry experience of someone who has been working all that time. So
that's crazy. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because now a lot of people know this is one of those cases that we're talking about. Like, you have to be very careful, man. You could forego a lot of money for those 3 years and stay for a master's and not work, or work, and maybe revisit the master's down the line.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But obviously, if you go to one that's in more academic or maybe more specifically research, but those are pretty niche, and there are not as many career options there. So it just depends. It all comes down to what you want. But I
Right.
think that the overall theme that you're sharing, and we could go like a whole nother hour, we're not going to do that,
Yeah.
is about the networking side of things, is that you can know everything and know all about what you need to do, but if no one knows you know that, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. So
Unfortunately,
yeah.
especially in this digital age, right?
Mhm.
Right now, the old school way of applying for jobs is you have a resume, you apply everywhere. You can still do that now,
Yeah.
but I don't think this is fair, but this is what it is.
Mhm.
Nowadays, well, it's always been this way. People hire who they like and who they know.
Yeah. No.
Don't make the rules up. I don't think it's fair.
Yeah.
There are people who are more qualified, who are less qualified than you, but they get the job.
Yeah.
Why? Because people know them. They can
Yeah.
trust them.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a social media brand, if you're on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, especially LinkedIn, have you on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
Yes.
You're on these platforms, connecting with the people, having tea with them, having conversations with them through the DMs.
Mhm.
Right? It goes down in the DMs, as they say. Having a conversation in the
It
DMs,
does.
having Zoom calls, going to networking events, conferences,
Mhm.
going to local community networking events. People are much likelier to hire you if they know you, if they're familiar with you and who
Yeah.
you are. But because some of us, I think, we do ourselves a disservice by not going out of our way to do that, because
Mhm.
the real secret is not working harder. We obviously work hard, yes,
Yeah.
work hard. But you get to a point where hard work can only take you so far. You got to be invited to certain places.
Yes.
You got to be invited to the room.
Yes.
Right? No one knows who you are. So how
Yep.
are they going to invite you if they don't know who you are?
Exactly. That's true.
Get on
In
LinkedIn, folks.
yeah, either my personal life or like just openings that happen. They talk about the hidden job market, but a lot of
Yes.
times they want to fill, because going through the recruiting process is expensive. Like it takes time, and it's a crapshoot. You don't know who you're gonna get a lot of
You
times.
don't know.
So
Risky.
it can be pretty risky. So if you got anything in this conversation, make sure that you are networking. Even if you're just starting small, start commenting on people's stuff or liking people's stuff. You don't know what to post yet, start small, but also understand what you want to do. Even if you don't know it yet, be open to the opportunities that lie. So like with Abdie's story, that he started off economics, realized that as far as what he needed to do to get a PhD, that wasn't something he was passionate about doing. And then he looked for other opportunities. Too many times we get caught into, I guess I'll use an economics term, with the sunk cost, that
Sunk cost, yep.
we feel like we put all this time and effort here, we need to stay in there. And that is not true. Like there's so many stories about people going into totally different industries, or switching majors or switching degrees while in college. At the end of the day, it's your life, it's your career, so make it matter.
Oh, that was amazing. I couldn't say that any better than myself.
Yeah.
Round of applause for Paul.
Yeah. But Abdie, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Love your energy, love everything you're doing. Keep doing it. If there's any way I can help you or connect you with anyone, let me know. But I want to make sure people know how to find you as far as your socials and website, anything.
Yes. So I'm working on a website. It will be coming soon. But for right now, you can follow me on both LinkedIn and Instagram. My LinkedIn is my first name, Abdie, A as in apple, B as in boy, D as in dog, I-E, Abdie, last name Mohamed, M-O-H-A-M-E-D, Abdie Mohamed on LinkedIn. And then for Instagram, you can find me at amohamed.elevate. So it's A-M-O-H-A-M-E-D period elevate, E-L-E-V-A-T-E. That's my Instagram. That's my LinkedIn. I'm also on medium.com for my blog posts.
Awesome.
Look up Abdie Mohamed and you'll find me there.
Awesome. So I'll make sure I put all those links in the show notes for the podcast, for those of you listening. And for those of you who are watching it, I would already have put it on the screen, so you've already seen it, or you can click on the link. So it was great having you on the podcast, Abdie. For everyone watching or listening, thanks for joining me on this journey of becoming the most incredible versions of ourselves. Keep being incredible.
Thank you for listening to the Incredipaul Podcast with Paul Ferranbi. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'll see you here next time. And be incredible. Incredible.